Okay, social realism films, in terms of the conventions, you'd expect to see kind of council houses, flats, the park, very kind of common mainstream things that you expect to see in everyday life. Characters would be mainly working class, normal everyday people, almost like street casting, so you'd expect to walk along the street, grab somebody and they could be your character.
I would expect to see people like with Nissan Micras, basic cars, crappy council estate, no one just there. It's just people suffering hardship, life which is long, hard, and they feel like as though if they were trapped.
I think the specific character types would mostly be teenagers and young adults. I think this is because you'd usually expect to see them in social realism films because it portrays their character and the struggles that they're going through. Settings wise, I think I'd expect to see council estates and parks and just run-down areas, just so that you get a feel and the most insight of what a social realism actually is.
So I'd probably expect to see some kind of urban setting, EastEnders, that kind of thing springs to mind, thinking about a suburb or something that isn't unusual, something that isn't out of the way. In terms of characters, I would imagine you'd have a group of friends, you'd have particular character traits, so you'd have kind of a flirtatious girl and then maybe a quieter one, you'd have people who don't necessarily fit in that much, you'd have maybe a boy or a guy who is more confident, you would have a very popular character perhaps, those stereotypical roles within friendship groups or within social groups.
So the kinds of conventions I'd expect to see would be, once again, stereotypical characters. So say, for example, it's West London, estates, lots and lots of estates. I would expect to sort of hear quite bad language. Teenagers tend to use swear words in place of other words, and they would also tend to, use sort of a lot of slang as well.
I expect to see conventional settings like council estates, alleyways, public parks. When it comes to the sound, I expect something quite dark and grim to set the mood about social realism. And in terms of characters, you will probably have the protagonist who you want the audience to connect with, as well with the antagonist.